let's just go right into the beginning. Start from the beginning, shall we? Excuse me, I'm having one technical difficulty. Okay, so who are we? We are a group of actually 3 women. Myself, I started this company, the Diet Doc Lifestyle, about 5 years ago, and we are a nutrition education and coaching platform. So I work with people one-on-one. We've been doing this for quite a long time now. I think maybe I'm getting up into that 1,000 client range. So it's been quite a wild ride, and it's been so fulfilling, and I'm so happy that I'm able to deliver this information to individuals because it's so powerful. But we then have created a webinar program, and the webinar sometimes will deliver little snippets like this, so free information and content for you guys to use. And then we also have full 4-week workshop programs that are done virtually, so you can literally join in from anywhere. So we have 2 other lovely women that are part of this team, and combined with the 3 of us, we have over 20 years of experience with personal training, nutrition, communications, mindset, meditational strategies. Like, not to toot our own horns, but we kind of have a powerhouse trio going on. So we are the support of this system. For this kind of webinar right now, I am here delivering the info, but Lisa and Millie, these fabulous women, are actually standing by. They're probably online right now, so they could say hello to everybody. But so it is the 3 of us, and we are a team, and we are here to support you guys, whether you just want to drop in for the free webinars, or whether you actually want to do one-on-one coaching, or you want to get into our webinar programs. So in this webinar, which is why you guys are here, is to show you the following things. So first one we're going to go over is how to unlock your body's fat burning potential at each meal and reducing the impact of carbs through macro pairing. What is macro pairing, you might be asking? Well, macro is short for macronutrient, and those contain our primary nutrients that we need for survival. They are protein, carbohydrates, fat, water, and alcohol is actually in there as well. So there is literally a strategy for how to pair these macronutrients together that will not only stabilize blood sugar levels, but help you to maximize fat loss, and it will also help energy and overall health. So macro pairing is quite a big deal, and most people don't teach it. It doesn't matter if it's a keto diet or Whole30 or anything like that. Most nutrition or diet programs don't teach you the power of pairing macronutrients together, and how the food combining is actually a very important piece of the puzzle. The second thing we're going to go over is the mistake most people make when restricting calories and how it kills their fat loss goals. So when we look at this, I know I was one of these people where I would always think like, okay, if I want to weigh less, I basically have to eat way, way less. And that is not the case. What we find with most of our clients now is they don't realize how little they were eating, and it actually stalls fat loss goals when we eat too little for too long. It kind of stunts our metabolic rate, and it really puts us in a tougher position to lose weight in the future. We're going to talk about that one. We're also going to talk about why, quote unquote, eating clean to achieve our lasting body composition goals is a myth. And lasting here is the key word, because nobody wants to eat broccoli and chicken for the rest of their life. It is not sustainable. No one wants to restrict a carbohydrate. No one wants to remove sugar out of their diet for the rest of their life, or dairy or pizza or whatever it is. Like, unless individuals have some sort of allergy, you want to have all the options. And there is a way to have all of the options while still reaching your goals. We still promote eating whole foods, but you can also actually have a much more consistent progress when you allow yourself the integration of all food items. So we're not in the restricting mindset. Next, we're going to go over 3 adjustments to skyrocket energy and ignite your fat loss. This is good to know. And the last is we're going to go over mindset adjustments for exiting a vicious cycle of dieting. So that's what we got for you today, and I hope you guys are ready, and I'm excited to share it with you. So as we go into it, our top 5 secrets to enjoy carbs and maintain your ideal body. So we could literally put enjoy fat, enjoy protein. Let's just say enjoy food in general, but my and Millie and Lisa's personal favorite macronutrient is most likely carbohydrates. I like my pizza. I actually just had some, no lie. I like my donuts. What else do I like? I like my jelly beans. So there's a lot of other things. I like my pasta. Like, I really enjoy these things, and learning how to space them throughout the day where they would not cause an impact of gaining fat or storing fat in my body was like a godsend. I was like, oh my gosh, really? So I can eat this stuff if I know when to eat it? This is insane. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we want to share with you is the importance of knowing your macronutrients. So like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 primary macronutrients, and these are the nutrients that we absolutely need for survival. And they include protein, carbohydrates, fats, and water is another one. But in terms of caloric intake, these are the top 4. So protein, as you can see, has 4 calories per gram. Protein is incredibly important for recovery and building and repairing muscle tissue. What we find generally is most people, I don't want to specialize, but in my experience, most women, especially if they're athletic in any way, they generally eat a very small amount of protein. And when they start to increase their protein intake, the amount of muscle that they're able to build, and we're not talking about like bulky muscle, we're talking about like lean muscle. Muscle itself is very lean. The amount of muscle they're able to build and the amount of fat that they drop within the first month of making that adjustment is astonishing. It surprises me and like delights me every single time. So that is the first one. The second one is our carbohydrates. We have 4 calories per gram of carbs as well. And the primary function of carbs is to provide our body with energy. Not only does it provide just our body with energy, but our brain functions primarily on carbohydrates, as does our nervous system. So you might notice that if you ever reduce carbs or restrict them altogether, like, you don't really feel that good. Like, nobody feels that good. They're not in a good mood. It's just not like, you're just not having a great day. So the reason for that is that if you're not eating enough carbs, your body is going to be scrounging for energy in other places. Our third macronutrient is fat. Fat, if you notice, is 9 calories per gram. So fat has a bunch of wonderful benefits. It helps to regulate our metabolism, our hormones, our immune system, and our brain. It also supplies energy for our brain as well. It helps to pad our organs from toxins and entering them. So all of these items are essential for our life, for overall health. However, not all calories are created equal. So as you saw before, we have protein, carbohydrates, fat, and now we've entered alcohol here. So these are the items that will make a caloric impact in your day. But as you can see, our carbohydrates, oh crap, what happened? Sorry guys. It just exited on me. Here we go. As you can see, our carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram. Our protein is 4 calories per gram. Fat is 9, like we said, and alcohol is 7. So when we look at these, you can look at the fact that fat is more than twice as calorically dense as protein and carbs. And what does that mean, like, in reality? So in reality, what it means is if you were to take a chicken breast, let's say it was like 4 ounces, and then you had a whole avocado that was like 4 ounces, the chicken breast at 4 ounces is around 110, 120 calories. The avocado, because it's more than twice as calorically dense, is closer to 320 calories, but they're the same size. So you can eat more than double the volume in protein and carbohydrates than you can in fat. So when we look at diets like keto, where it's like all protein and fat-based and like a very small amount of carbohydrate, you can see why especially women won't really do very well on that diet, because the fat calorie impact is going to be so great. Not saying that keto isn't right for everyone, because it's wonderful for some individuals, but when we're looking at a long-term sustainable fat loss, It's really not ideal as a lifestyle, and it really doesn't take in all the science that we have. Plus, it reduces vegetables in your diet, and that's never a good idea. So next we have alcohol. So alcohol is one subject that we cover quite in depth in some of our workshops and coaching programs. But alcohol is definitely has an impact. So when you go in to look at the impact of alcohol, what we recommend is that you take some sort of logging application, you check out the calories of that alcoholic beverage, and notice that it will not have a protein, carbohydrate, or fat value. So like if I were to grab like a Coors Light or something, it's probably going to be around 90 calories. But when I look at where those calories are coming from, there is 0 protein, 0 carbs, and 0 fat. Kind of confusing, right? So the funny thing is about this is that the FDA does not recognize alcohol to be a macronutrient. Why? Because we don't need it for survival. So it will have a calorie count, but it won't have a macronutrient count. So you can do a little bit of math there, and you can basically take your total calorie for any sort of alcoholic beverage. And this is if you really want to dive in and like start tracking food and seeing what you're actually consuming to understand what's going into your body. You can take the total calories and divide it by 4. Why 4? Because 4 is the amount of carbohydrates, or excuse me, calories per gram of carbohydrates. And alcohol, as it breaks down into a sugar alcohol, is the most closest to a carb than it is to anything else. So in that case, you know, if you had a 100-calorie beer, for example, and you divided by 4, it would be essentially 25 grams of carbs for that serving of alcohol. Next, we go into this puppy. So this is one of the most kind of like mind-blowing things that I think I learned. There's a few of them, but this is definitely one of them that when I understood that this was a thing, all of a sudden things started to click for me. So this is the thermal effect of food. So when I was kind of talking about the protein, the chicken breast, and then the avocado, so the protein at 4 ounces, like around 120 calories. If you look here, protein requires energy to digest. So the thermal effect of food is the amount of energy that it requires just to break down a macronutrient, to break down a carb, to break down a protein, to break down a fat. And each macronutrient will require a different amount of energy to break down, put into use, and just digest fully. So protein requires about 20 to 30%. Carbohydrates, depending if it's like a simple carb, simple sugar, or a complex carb, will take between 5 to 20% to break down and digest. And fat, ladies and gentlemen, requires 0. So what does that mean like in reality? It means that if we're looking at that chicken breast and the avocado, the chicken breast at like 120 calories, about 30% of those calories are just going to break it down and digest it. So in this example, it's giving you a chicken leg at 200 calories, but at 20 to 30%, you're actually using 60 of those calories to digest it. So you're only getting like 140. And then the guy's happy because he has less calories. But if you were to take an avocado at 300 and something calories, it doesn't require anything to digest. In fact, your body automatically stores the majority of that fat. And so when we look at how much fat we actually need for survival and overall health, it's pretty minimal because that sucker is really potent. So the thermal effect of food is an incredible thing. So if you were to choose any kind of 2 primary macronutrients to fill your plate with, it would be lean protein, because we're trying to reduce the fat, and carbohydrates, whether it's vegetable, fruit, grain, all of these things, they will not only give your body energy, but also require energy to break down. So you'll be burning more while you're eating. So fun fact, consuming food actually requires additional energy to burn. So your metabolism actually increases while you're eating. And let's talk about carbs. So I like this one. I'm on that diet where you cut out all the carbs and all the sugar and all the happiness. Let me see. I have so been there. I actually did keto for about 3 months. And let me tell you, I was not a fun person to be around. Not only was I working out and felt like absolute crap, but I didn't actually see my body transform in the way I would expect it would with such an extreme form of intake. And so once I learned how to apply carbs in the correct fashion into my diet and really kind of space them out throughout the day, I was like, oh my gosh, my body loves this. I have energy throughout the day. My workouts feel awesome. Like overall, I just feel so much better. And my body was getting leaner. So talking about this, carbs again. So as I mentioned before, your body needs carbs for energy, brain power, and heart health. We need carbs, period. Carbohydrates are actually one of the substrates that we need, we absolutely require for muscle contraction. And if we're not getting carbs from our intake, what our body will end up doing is breaking down muscle tissue and converting that into energy or sugar or, the smallest form of carbohydrates instead. So that additionally has an impact on your weight loss goals, if that is a goal for you. Also on your muscle building goals. So how to make carbs work for you. And Stephanie, I believe this will probably go into answering your question a little bit. So simple carbs. Simple carbs are things like bananas, like fruit, cereal, because it has that refined sugar in it, donuts, fruit juice, let me see, jelly beans. All of these are considered simple carb or simple sugar. So they are fast acting. The sugar enters your bloodstream very quickly. So like spiking your blood sugar level. So what I like to think about is if you're fueling a car. So simple sugar forces the fuel into your engine very, very quickly, which is great if you're going to go for a drive. Not so great if you are going to sit on the couch. You don't really need that energy. And what happens when we don't use energy that's forced into our body in the form of sugar, and we don't really have anywhere to put it, it basically stores as fat. So knowing how to place your carbohydrates throughout the day is super, super helpful. So then we go into complex carbs. So complex carbs will be slower to digest and they help to regulate blood sugar levels. So they include things like whole grains, rice, legumes, starchy veggies, pasta, pizza, because it has the whole grain on it. Those sorts of things would be your complex carbs, pumpkin, sweet potato, all of those items. And when we look at complex carbs, they require in the higher range of energy to use to digest them. So our complex carbs will require around 20% just to digest, where our simple carbs will require around 5%. Not a lot to digest. So it'll be very fast acting, which is great if you're using it for energy. So that's why it says around 30 minutes before a workout, you can actually use some of these simple carbs, like donuts, for example, for energy to get right into your bloodstream. If you're looking for stabilized energy throughout the day, choosing moderate portions of complex carbs will be awesome and ideal because you'll give your body now a drip feed of energy going into your system and not overflow it with a bunch of sugar all at once. Fibrous carbs are our next one. So fibrous carbs will help to carry food through our intestinal tract. They promote regularity, and the majority of our fibrous carbohydrates will contain a lot of our vitamins and minerals that we really need for just overall health, functionality. It'll be our enzymes, our antioxidants, our vitamins, minerals, etc. And these will include your leafy greens, asparagus, broccoli, cauliflower, like pretty much all the vegetables, all of the leafy greens. And here's kind of a fun trick. When you're looking at what fibrous vegetables or fibrous carbohydrates are, it's anything that's really grown above the earth will be more of a fibrous carbohydrate. Anything that is below the earth, like carrots, beets, potatoes, sweet potato, those sorts of things will be your starchy carbs. Anything that is above the earth, broccoli, asparagus, even like butternut squash, pumpkin, they will have more fiber than they will starch. They will be in terms of like the comparison. So their carbohydrate impact will be much less. So that means that they'll be great for, they'll have a lot of water in them usually. They'll have a lot of fiber to keep you regular, but they won't have the carbohydrate needed for a really high amount of energy to use for, that energy level throughout the day or for performance. So when we look at macronutrient pairing, like we were talking about before, so this is a key element. When we pair a carb with a protein or a fat, we do that when we want to slow digestion because the process of pairing a protein and fat with a carbohydrate, it'll help to slow the digestion, which means it'll help to regulate blood sugar levels. This is the key. When we have blood sugar levels that are regulated, it equals fat loss ultimately. When we eat meals that are too big, no matter how healthy or unhealthy it is, if we eat like a pound of carrots and our body can only really use about 2 whole carrots, all of that excess will spike blood sugar levels and it will store as fat. But when we pair protein and carbs, when we pair protein and fat with carbohydrates, they act like a buffer. So now they give it an even more drip feed, so it'll carry that energy more consistently throughout the day and between meals. So when we look at the ideal macro pairing, having simple carbs before your workout is awesome because that energy is going to be fast acting. It's going to get right into your cells. If we're looking at keeping our blood sugar levels and our energy, everything stable throughout the day, we want to look at really pairing protein and carbs throughout the day, or carbohydrates and a moderate amount of fat because fat is so dense. Next thing. So when we look at restricting calories, the number one mistake most people make when restricting calories and how it kills their fat loss. So when we look at calories, we look at how many calories our body actually needs for survival, and that is called our basal metabolic rate. So our basal metabolic rate is the rate at which we are burning calories while resting. And you can do different types of testing for this. There's some online calculators. I would highly recommend, if you have access, to get an in-body or a DEXA scan. We actually have this available in our offices in San Francisco and Nashville and North and South Carolina. So you can check those guys out. That will give you an actual, like, legit feed of your basal metabolic rate. And from there, you can really see how many calories your body needs. What most people, the mistake that they make is they restrict calories so low that our body will start to break down muscle mass and convert that into energy. What happens when we break down muscle mass is, because our muscle is actually the governing body for our metabolism, when we reduce our muscle mass, our metabolism slows down. And this is usually what the yo-yo diet thing consists of, right? So someone starts to reduce calories, we start to lose a little bit of muscle mass, our metabolism slows. And then when they start to eat normal again, whatever their normal was, that was an excess of calories than they were before, the body doesn't have the same metabolic capacity or capacity to, use all of that food. So it ends up storing even more weight. So that is the yo-yo essence. It's like they go from restricting calories, breaking down muscle tissue, not really being able to sustain it, and then going back to eating quote unquote normal again. Their metabolic rate is dropped, so therefore they start putting on more weight. And then the cycle just usually continues in terms of yo-yo dieting or these fad diets that are restricting calories too low. Our next one is quality and quantity. So any macronutrient consumed in excess will eventually be stored as fat. This is something that I had no idea before. I actually thought that protein was like kind of a freebie. I was like, it's protein, it's never going to store as fat. Not true. So anything consumed in excess, no matter if it's like a 12-ounce porterhouse steak, if you can't use it and your body can't metabolize it or digest it, it will move into fat storage or it'll be excreted. But most of it will move into fat storage. So what we want to look at is really how to understand the amount of energy that your body needs, and then to figure out how much protein, carbohydrates, and fat your body needs, and then spread it out throughout the day as evenly as you can, so you don't have these moments of excess that are just basically moving all that excess into fat storage. So 4 easy adjustments to basically maximize if you are to really navigate your goals in terms of fat loss, body composition, performance, health, all of it. So the first thing, and this shouldn't be a shocker, but is to plan ahead. So there are some macronutrient calculators. I might ask Lisa right now to maybe give a link for the Diet Doc macro calculator. It's totally free, but you guys can use that and kind of like play around with it. So plan ahead. Plan ahead, plan an entire day of what you're going to eat ahead and actually see what it looks like. This is more eye-opening than anything else you could possibly do, anything that I could tell you. If you keep track of what you're actually eating for an entire day and then really consciously reflect with some of this information, you will learn quite a lot. And then you can make adjustments moving forward. If you are looking in hindsight and going like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that yesterday, unless you're able to learn something from it, it's just making it a little bit harder for you. So planning ahead will be a first main thing. Spacing our meals out throughout the day. So let's say, for example, if I'm shooting to eat 1,600 calories a day, right? And I'm looking to have a certain amount of carbohydrates, certain amount of protein, certain amount of fat for my day, I want to spread my intake as evenly as I can throughout the day, throughout like 4, ideally 5 to 6 meals. And that will allow me to get these little packets of energy, which will keep me fueled. It'll keep my energy levels up and it'll keep my blood sugar levels stable. The next thing is to keep protein levels up at each meal. So protein not only helps your metabolism, but it also helps to stabilize that blood sugar again. And it's just super, super helpful. And here we go with mindset. So we talk a lot about mindset in our second webinar, which is called Awaken Your Inner Dialogue. Mindset and our choices and our habits are such a big piece of the puzzle when you look at why we're doing things and why we're progressing in certain areas and not progressing in other areas. So our focus with mindset when it comes to changing habits and really sticking to something that's new is identify an area or an old dialogue that isn't working for you anymore. Identify it, write it down, spend some time with it, ask yourself why it's there, and then make a decision. Make a decision if it's something that you choose to keep or if it's something that you choose to transform. If you do choose to transform it, then it's time to take daily action. And depending on what it is, that daily action could be simply planning your meals ahead of time, or it could be sitting down to breakfast without any distractions. There's so many ways to transform, there's so many areas that you can use this to transform. It doesn't have to be food alone, but realistically with your mindset strategies, it's like first thing, if there's something that isn't working for you, let's identify what it is. Look at possibly where it came from. Sometimes that's great to find out. Sometimes it's not really necessary. And then make a decision on whether you choose to keep it or you don't, because in my mind and in our minds, there's nothing wrong with whatever it is that you're doing. There's only something wrong if it doesn't work for what you really want for yourself. And the next thing is taking action and taking it with consciousness, with awareness, and doing it as frequently as possible, because that's how we build new pathways in our brain and form new habits. Whew. Okay, I told you guys I was going to go over. So that was quite a lot of information. And there is so much more to give. I can't even tell you how much there is to go over, which is why we are quite busy right now. So as we go into what you can do with this information. So I'll share with you a little bit about our new webinar programs, because this is actually the first free webinar that we've given, but we'll plan to do these once a month or so. So our webinar program or platform is called The Green Door. And it's literally a program that is evolving with each individual. So we really look at that we all have our unique relationships with food. We also have our unique goals, unique lifestyles, performance schedules, training plans. All of these things are unique to you. And so how do we make it so that your program is either guided by you and it's just evolves as you evolve? And we've kind of figured it out. So we have 2 options here, but your first option is you can basically take what you've gotten today and roll forward and like feel free with the information. I so hope that you learned something and it was helpful. So if you want to roll solo and just fly into the wind after this, we recommend that you estimate your macronutrient ranges using an online calculator, such as the calculator we have on our website. Or you can sign up with our program and take the guesswork out, and we'll basically do it for you, like real humans figuring out your macro profiles. Also, if you're rolling solo, we highly recommend that if you really want to figure out what works best for your body, after you figure out your macronutrient ranges with an online calculator, you go right into weighing and tracking your food daily intake. I really like MyFitnessPal. It seems to be the most user-friendly of all of them. So if you want to download that one, it's a free app. You can get the premium version, which I feel is really helpful. I think it's $50 for the year still. But it's such a good investment because you can immediately get feedback for what's in your food, like right away. So weighing food is another huge aspect. I've done this little test a few times. So I've weighed out, half a cup of dried whole rolled oats. And when you look at the back of an oatmeal container or whole rolled oats container, it says 41 grams of oats is a certain amount of carbohydrates. Excuse me. I think 41 grams is around, it's like, I should totally know this. It's like 25 grams of carbs. So I weighed it, and then I weighed the half cup serving size that it says it's equivalent to. Not equivalent. It actually weighed out to be about 61 grams with like a regular half cup serving. And that additional 20 grams is like an additional 15 or 20 grams of carbs. And if you're having that one thing every single day, that makes a big difference over the course of a week. A big kind of oversight in terms of your consistency and understanding what you're actually getting in. So you don't have to weigh food forever, but I would definitely recommend in the beginning, try weighing your food out. It used to have kind of this negative connotation for weighing food, but I can't recommend it highly enough if you want to really understand with specificity what you're eating and what's working and what's not working. The next thing is, once you figure out macronutrients, stay within your macro ranges for your day and at each meal. The each meal balance is so greatly important. That's how you stabilize your blood sugar levels. And then if you have that consistency over a period of time, you can then reflect back and go, okay, did this work for me? If it didn't, maybe I can make some adjustments in some areas. The next is to track your progress. So tracking progress with body weight, progress photos, measurements, all of the pieces of data that you can collect for yourself to actually see what's working and what's not working, I totally recommend. I personally like to use progress photos and weight myself, because the photos, they'll always tell you everything that you may or may not want to hear or see, but they will show how your body is developing in certain areas. And if you do this on a weekly basis, it kind of helps you to get these little snapshots of what you did that week, how your body responded, what you did that week, how your body responded. And the final one is to be consistent and patient. So losing or gaining, if you're looking to gain muscle, 0.5 to 2 pounds per week is best, depending on your goals. So usually females will drop around 0.5 to 1 pound per week if they're doing it in a healthy way and it's pure fat loss. Men will generally drop a little bit faster because they're much more efficient at metabolizing fat. In terms of building muscle, you might notice that 0.5 would be an awesome amount of muscle to gain over the course of a week. Generally, it's about 1 pound a month of true muscle mass, and that requires a pretty good amount of training to go along with it. And if you are looking at getting support outside of yourself and outsourcing, I will share with you what we're about and what our workshops include. So our plan is our Awaken series. And we call it the Awaken series because we really believe that you guys actually have all of this information in your body. Your body knows what it should be eating. Your body knows the internal dialogues that are conscious or unconscious. And your body knows what type of movement it really responds best to. And all we are doing is providing you with insights and information backed by science and the space to explore that. We're kind of like your bumper lanes. So to tell you yes, that's totally accurate, or maybe you should explore this, or that usually isn't the best idea. I wonder where that belief or idea came from. Let's kind of course correct here. So we have 3 separate courses, and they can be progressive, or you can jump in one at a time. Right now, we are starting Awaken Your Nutrition Code and Awaken Your Inner Dialogue at the end of this week. So Thursday and Friday, we're starting these workshops. We won't start our movement workshop until March, but they are designed to be completed one after the other. So it's ideal, and we recommend to do our Nutrition Code program first, and then the Inner Dialogue one, which really goes in deeper into habit forming, making it a lasting lifestyle change. And then the final one is movement. And you can just do one and be free and go off into the sunset, or you can do all three, or you can just do two of them. It's kind of like a choose whatever feels right for you. So each of our course structures involve an hour-and-a-half kickoff virtual workshop. So for our nutrition and inner dialogue courses that start at the end of this week, we start out with a 1.5-hour live virtual workshop where we will go over all of the structure. So for each of these, we actually deliver macronutrient profile and calorie ranges for each individual, and we have a quite extensive intake form that we go through, and we check everyone's information, and then we deliver these to you before our workshop. So if you've already signed up, make sure you've completed your form ASAP, please, because it gives us time to go through it. They are personalized programs. So we are really like giving you guys personalized information, and we have sight on your food logs because we do use the MyFitnessPal tracking app. We give real-time support. So we have a live Facebook group, and Millie, Lisa, and myself are basically checking it all the time. And we're just giving feedback for everyone, and it's collaborative, and everyone's chatting with each other. And it's an awesome place to just learn, grow, all of it. And then we have weekly video and written lessons where you get to learn, and whether you want to do it through video style or just read the email. So they are delivered on Mondays and Wednesdays. And so Mondays kind of kick it off with our information on what we're going to be focusing on for the week. And then Wednesdays, we go into our activity. So how do you actually apply this to your week? And then Fridays, we have a live Q&A session, which is recorded on Crowdcast, so you can actually ask your questions ahead of time. If you can't be there live, you can go ahead and check it out later. And then we post all of this stuff on the Facebook group. So even if you can't be here and you're not like looking to log into Crowdcast, you can always just check out the Facebook group, and it's all there as well. Inside that, we have PDF guides, cheat sheets, and so many resources for alcohol strategies, travel and events, dining. We really have amassed so much information over our last 5 years, and we're just sharing it. We want to share as much as we can, so we give you guys all the tools that you may ever need. We have weekly challenges as well for prizes each week. And I already shared with you guys about our live Q&A session. I'll say that usually when I do private sessions, 1 hour of my time is generally $130. So I'll just be straightforward and I'm totally open. So that live Q&A session is pretty darn valuable, if I do say so myself. Not to toot my own horn, but it's like an amazing opportunity to just ask all of your questions and have a real live human in the nutrition industry be able to answer for you. And if I can't answer a question, I'll go look it up. I'll be honest with you and be like, you know what? I don't know. Let me do some research for you, and then I'll get back. So we're almost done. Awaken Your Nutrition Code. Like I was saying, we go over personalized macronutrient ranges. Everybody gets that. We do an in-depth macronutrient education through our webinar in each week's lessons. We go over our thermal effect of food again, how blood sugar really affects body composition and how to strategize around that. Meal planning, like very specific meal planning and meal spacing for your specific day and lifestyle. And then making your favorite foods work. We do nutrition support and accountability throughout the Facebook group. And then this course starts this week. In terms of our Awaken Your Inner Dialogue, this one is like super close to my heart. I'm really excited about delivering this. So we also provide updated macronutrient profiles if people are coming in from the nutrition workshop. We do some daily and weekly journaling opportunities. So of course, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. But it's not required to journal daily, but I highly recommend it. Myself, Lisa, and Millie will be actually doing this whole workshop ourselves. Even when I was doing the dry run for this presentation, I had my own epiphanies, and I was like, okay, this is going to be good. So we are uncovering internal dialogues and stories that don't work for us anymore, and it is powerful. So examining past experiences and belief around food, whether it's cultural, family dynamics that you grew up in, all of these things that we may or may not be conscious of, they're affecting us now. We have a lot of exercises for cultivating more awareness, and then strategies for enforcing these new habits. We really believe that you can transform anything that you put your mind to, and sometimes having the space to do so is all that's really required. So we have continued nutrition support and accountability throughout this month as well. It's not only an inner dialogue. Nutrition is the platform for all of our courses, and then inner dialogue is kind of the focus of that month. And finally, coming soon is our movement program. So movement is how I started out. I was a personal trainer for 10 years. I taught Pilates and salsa dancing, and now I do, single point trapeze, and just kind of like been in movement for my whole life. But we are going to go over actually helping you to understand how to choose workout programs and design your own workout program and understand why. Like, why would you choose to do resistance training over stabilization training? And learning about the energy systems that are in your body and how to use not only food to fuel those energy systems, but how to understand the progress that you would receive when you decided, okay, I want to develop these types of muscles. We'll show you what type of energy system you'll be in, and then allow you to maximize whatever that training style is. We'll do foundational movement patterns for your body type. Not everybody is created equal. Some people have really tight hips. Some people's shoulders never move. So really navigating and understand your body and not comparing against someone else's body. Like, they can do that, why can't I? We are all different, and some exercises don't work for everyone. We'll go over fueling for performance and body composition, and continued support for nutrition, which again is like throughout each of our courses. And then we'll show you how to actually create your own strength training or stabilization or mobility programs. Like, how would be the most effective way to create these programs for your body type and for your goals.